everyone. That seemed a fortuitous time to change that, to just drop the music and go into the intro. How are you guys doing today? I am just so relieved. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not so much worried about my looks. Like, I have no F's left to give on that. Normally I try to make an effort, not today, give on that. Normally I try to make an effort, not today, to, a little bit less anxious about what the hell is going on in America these days. I know I certainly am. So yeah, on a personal level, can I just say, I am like so late getting stuff organized, like, I gotta adjust my chair here. I still have my pajama pants. Guys, this is going to be a sloppy show. Not because I'm drunk, but I went back and looked, and I've like streamed 5 of the last 6 days just with Kevin from Tuesday. Plus I D&D last night, plus I'm doing DT. I'm just turning up to work to be here. So don't expect too much. Don't judge me. But I don't know about you guys. So yes, I feel... Did you lose me? Am I gone? You can hear me according to OBS. What? I'm looking here. My internet looks okay. Did I stop streaming? No, end stream. Stop streaming. Everything looks to be running from my side, guys. At least here on my side. Okay. I'm just gonna assume, unless I see something else, that everything is fine. Went to bed. So yeah, can you guys just confirm that you can still see me and hear me and everything is alright on your side? So, what was I saying? Relief. Yeah, I felt absolute relief getting up, this morning. I didn't have to think or worry or wonder about checking Twitter to see what Trump had done back in America while I'd been asleep at night. Like, I woke up and it was, hey Flint, thank you for the donation. And that was like mwah, 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 kisses to you. Yeah, it was amazing just waking up and not having to have not thinking about going and checking my feed for what Donald Trump did. Okay, it's good. All right, good to know. I went to bed last night and I realized I didn't have to think about the campaign. And that was the first time since like 2015, 2016 that I haven't had this sort of like general anxiety. Now, it was even before he was president. I guess I didn't take it seriously enough when he was running against Clinton. Because, I would wake up in the morning and I would check Twitter to see what dumb thing Trump had done over the evening, and then he became president, and it became way more stressful. So, yeah, it's Buddhists talk about, it's kind of hard to describe this, but when there's an absence of something, so they use the term renunciation because it's an English translation, but it's actually not. I'm going to center myself a bit better here. Renunciation kind of implies a quitting of something. It's a conscious rejection and denial of yourself, right? So let's say I did something really terrible, like renounce chocolate. right? Think about it's like the renunciation I guess maybe in my perception of it in English is more like going on a diet, which is I know it's there, I want it, but I'm denying myself. And that's really not. Yeah, that's really not how it works in Buddhism. It would be better to think of it more like suddenly not wanting chocolate anymore after having always craved it, being released from a craving that you had, like suddenly realizing that you actually don't need that thing that you thought you needed, and that mental space that opens up that went alongside with whatever you thought of that thing. Whenever I'd think of chocolate, I would go, oh, I really like chocolate, but I can't have chocolate, so I have to deny it. And then the change would be just going, oh yeah, chocolate, and then not even having any emotions associated with it. That is what Buddhism Buddhists mean by, well, at least in the Mahayana tradition that I came from, I can't speak for all Buddhists, but it's renunciation isn't a self-denial, it's a liberation. It's the absence of a craving. It's an absence of an obsession. It's an absence of a negative emotion or pulling. And that is very much exactly the feeling that I have. I don't know about you people, especially in America or anywhere else in the world, but the absence of Trump, like there's just a, the way they sometimes describe it is, if you had a pile of money on a table and you took that money away, you wouldn't replace it with something. There would just be the lack of a bunch of money on your table, right? And right now there is a lack of Donald Trump in my life. Now I know he's still out there. I know he's still flailing. But hey Bruce, how you doing, mate? Yeah, there's just an absence of Trump from my mind, or an absence of Trump anxiety. And when I watched the Van Jones video, we watched it on the happy hour, I realized that, for me, it's a very vague thing. The most pressing issue I really had as a, white woman in America was I was always quite anxious about, not quite anxious, but my anxiety was probably tied to access to abortion and contraception, because I personally know how important those things are to, for people who can get pregnant. If you're trying to not get pregnant because economic reasons or whatever else, there's always that sort of anxiety in the back of your mind. And so I always, that was probably the most pressing thing. And now again with Biden, I don't have to worry about it. And that was I'm getting beyond those years, but I'm still for anyone else who can get pregnant, I'm still very anxious for their rights in the United States, although it's not affecting me personally. But when whatever his name, on the CNN thing said about dreamers having to live in a country where they don't have to worry about the police coming by and deporting them. They can actually get on with their lives and go to school, or, go ahead and start a business, or sign up for the military, or whatever it is that they want to do, to know that it could it's not the case anymore, or at least for the next 4 years, that it could just all be taken from them in a second because the president hates them. And so I know that there are a lot of us who are waking up with the joy of a lack of Trump in our lives. Just for those of you joining late, hello and hugs, everyone. Everyone gets a hug. Come on in, everyone. Group hug. Let's do it. Oh, it feels so good. Let's celebrate. I've done a lot of streaming. I've said a lot of the things that I've wanted to say, so this won't be too long, but I do want to look a little bit forward. Sorry, coffee. Wake up my morning voice here. I've just noticed the extent to which I could just disappear into my bedroom, sort of like the curtains I have to separate my bed from the rest of my room. Everything is very blue and gray here in the show today. No hugs. The wolf, no. Hugs. Do not have anxiety about Donald Trump's legal challenges. And if you aren't familiar, I took a constitutional law class in my undergraduate, and I've done a lot. I'm not an expert on the Constitution and the courts. However, I do have more of a background than quite a lot of people online, it seems, and certainly many people on the president's. Lawyers who should know better, who are still working for the president, trying to enable his nonsense. The fact is that, Trump wants to look to the Supreme Court because he's thinking of Bush v. Gore. It's like, oh yeah, just like the Supreme. I think this is what's going on in his mind, is that he's thinking, yeah, Bush v. Gore, the Supreme Court came in and they made the deciding case in the case of Florida, and that's what's going to happen for me. 2020 is not 2000. 2020 is not 2000. We're looking at very different situations. Bush v. Gore was about a little under 600 votes. And there were, sorry, I'm coughing all over you guys. And there was also the problem of hanging chads. There was just a physical, it wasn't like an illegal issue, or a technical problem or a timing problem. There was like a physical problem with the ballots. And that made it a lot more open to interpretation as to what the intent of the voter was. There were more grounds to challenge individual ballots. And in that case, in those situations, 600, 500 ballots, 700 ballots out of, 20,000 or whatever it was, I'm just making that number up. But that's not, if you've got a dimple but not a punch through, and there are some legal things about how far along the chad has to be pushed out, there's all kinds of stuff you can do with that. That's not what we're looking at right now. There are allegations of fraud that they have no evidence for. There's complaints that have no merit. We're just seeing a lot of busy work. And it might keep Fox happy. It might keep the Fox viewers happy if they don't look too deep under the hood. If they just say, oh, there are legal challenges. Yeah. There are legal things and there are accusations of fraud. I'm going to clear my throat again. I'm going to mute you guys this time when I do it. Damn. They can do frivolous lawsuits in order to generate more money in their scam for their gullible followers and just take more of their money. But that doesn't play in a courtroom. There is no substantive legal challenge I've seen anyone mention so far. In all of the various legal minds that I've seen paraded out in front of the camera on MSNBC, none of them think any of the lawsuits have merit. Now, there was like the moving from 10 feet to 6 feet away that Trump won, but that's not going to change the votes in any meaningful way. There might be a case on, segregate all the ballots that are received after 8 o'clock on election day. Fine. Right? Like, who cares? That's not going to change. But that's not going to change what votes are counted. You can put them in a big pile, but especially in Philadelphia, that's not going to change very much. Not when you're going ahead by 30,000, 40,000 votes. That means that we are well on our way to a Biden presidency. And those are two words I don't think I've put together yet. That might be the first time I've actually even dared to say those two words together. And it feels really nice to think about life after Trump. But I do not expect Trump to give a concession speech. I do not expect him to act at all gracefully. I mean, it doesn't even cross my mind that he's going to give a concession speech. It doesn't even cross my mind that he's going to show up for the I'm fuzzy. Stupid. I really need a new camera. I freaking hate Logitech. And I'm sorry about this, everyone. Any better? God, I hate this freaking camera. I hate this freaking camera. I'm gonna have to do this whole show again. Alright, anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up pretty soon anyway. Yeah, I know. I don't even know why it did that. It looks okay when I did the hug, but... Alright, you know what? I think I'm just gonna wrap this up. I hate this freaking camera. I spent £100 or €100 on it. It doesn't freaking work. And I freaking hate it. So anyway, hey you guys. Yeah, be well. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm gonna try to figure it out. I tried downloading the stupid Logitech software, but now it's some sort of gaming software, and I gave it permission, and I think that might have screwed. I don't know what's going on. It's I can't show you the Logitech camera because the stupid thing. What I could do is I could just switch over to my webcam camera, which is itself pretty. It's pathetic. The fact that a built-in webcam would actually be a better camera than the one that I paid over €100 for. I wouldn't have reviewed it on. No, Flint, it's okay. It's okay. I actually, what's funny? While I'm looking for a better camera to add to my window here, audio input, display center, image, video capture device. Yeah. Let's do a new one. I'm just going to talk you guys through what I'm doing here. Holy crap! Oh my god. Okay, let's do this. You guys can actually see me then. What the hell? What the actual hell is... Alright, let's turn off the Logitech one. Put on a freaking decent one. God, this is embarrassing for Logitech. There we go. Oh, look at this. Look at the difference. Look at the difference in this. This is my webcam. This is my built-in webcam. Alright, I'm just... If you take your glasses off, we can pretend this is how you see us. You guys are awesome. Alright, so yeah, let me, I'll futz around with this. I'll multitask while I sort of do the screen and the other side, but what was I saying? Yeah, Trump doesn't really have a legal chance in hell, and we know he's not gonna be an adult enough to, be gracious in defeat. That's just not in his nature. I know! Return the other one. It's like a couple years old already. So, yeah, I'm gonna just go online and get a new one, and it's not gonna be a Logitech. Screw that. You guys are terrible. And so yeah, I think we should feel pretty good going forward. Biden has already released a whole list of executive order like things that he's going to do as soon as he gets into office, which I was very happy to see that list. I think we can look it up too if you want, but generally it was very good stuff. It was all the kind of like eliminate the Muslim ban that Trump had instituted, get back into the climate, the Paris climate accords. Bam! Look at this. Look how much better that is. This is the piece of shit I'm talking about. Oh, there goes the monetization for this one. This is the Logitech camera that I like. It's an HD. Says HD 1080. Yeah, you can tell I'm getting old. No, we're gonna be 50 in like another year and a couple months. Piece of crap. Absolute piece. They don't support it. Alright, okay, Christie's bitter. But yeah, Biden's already talking about city life. You know, what kind of trash is that, right? Yeah. And by the way, pretty soon what I'll do is I will fill up I'm really getting through my coffee today. So I'll give you guys a chance. I'll babble for a bit more here about the upcoming Biden administration. And then I will go make some coffee, and you guys can throw some questions or comments or jokes or anything else in the chat if you want. And then we're gonna, because like I said, I did like 5 shows in 6 days. Getting a bit, just a little low energy. Getting a bit low energy here. Let's see, I'm pretty sure I bookmarked the Biden stuff. Yeah, I did. I knew I did. Alright, early executive actions. These are the things he already is like getting ready to do besides his 12-person COVID thing going on. I have an LED one with a round red light on it, folks. It's very clear. Okay, Flint, I will have a look at that. If you can drop me the brand name. Yeah, the Logitech camera might not work, but it looks cool. Yeah, you know, they really do a good job of the box, of selling it in the box, you know, making it look nice. And then there's absolutely no tech support. There's no way to like customize it. You have to download their entire gaming system to stream games live in order to do anything with their... Never again. Never again. No more Logitech products for me ever. Ever. They've got the last of my money, those guys. Alright. So, here is given Republican control of the Senate, we can expect extensive use of executive orders by Biden to advance his policies. So, number 1, climate, initiate reentry into the Paris Climate Agreement, issue executive orders that track priorities in the Biden plan for clean energy, resolution, and environmental justice. I can't have you too tired for the session. No, I've got some exciting things. Well, I'll talk about D&D and for those of you who don't care. Because I know people come for the politics. Education, equitable treatment of DACA dreamers so they can achieve access assistance. Eliminate limits on international student visas. Reinstate gainful employment rules and borrower defense rules. Enforce student civil rights rules. Financial services, appoint diverse candidates to economic positions at Treasury, the National Economic Council, financial regulatory agencies, including those that do not require Senate confirmation. Food and agriculture, reverse nutrition and feeding program actions limiting supplemental nutrition assistance programs, that's the SNAP program. Expand and utilize flexibilities for feeding programs related to COVID, the pandemic relief, especially school funding. Reprioritize, relocate, and support U.S. Department of Ag research agencies. Foreign policy and national security. Terminate the ban against travel to the United States by individuals from Muslim-majority countries. Reaffirm the U.S. commitment to the North Atlantic Trade Organization and other valued diplomatic and security alliances. Rejoin the World Health Organization. See, this doesn't take Mitch McConnell at all. I got a little itch. Okay. Healthcare, address the COVID pandemic, reverse Trump actions that have weakened the Affordable Care Act, roll back Medicaid work requirements and block grants, reverse Trump actions on abortion and reproductive health care, including reversing the Mexico City policy, restoring funding to Planned Parenthood and contraceptive coverage under the ACA. Immigration, reverse Trump efforts to end the DACA program, end national emergency declarations that allow border wall funding, end family separation policies. This is enough to keep him busy for months. You know, just organizing. I mean, a lot of it is just easy to reverse, but once you reverse it, you still have to go back to the old policies and make sure that they're modified or whatever else. So, I mean, Biden's got a whole to-do list before he even starts dealing with Mitch McConnell. And that none of that stuff has anything to do. Mitch McConnell can't stop any of that. Lonely Wolf says, when I found out about the results, there was a mild sense of relief in my soul. I know, it's kind of like your shoulders went, oh, wow, that's like one less thing I have to worry about in the world. Like, I don't have to worry about the orange baboon, orangutan, monkey, S-gibbon, throwing things. I know, it's really nice, isn't it? Okay. Yes, Sleeping Christy, low energy, so sad. All right, we've been going 24 minutes. I already went through an entire cup of coffee. All right, now I did lie. So why don't you guys come up with a bunch of questions? And, you know, I'm just sort of wondering, do I even need to get another damn... What do you guys think of this camera? I mean, it looks pretty clear to me. Looks pretty nice. Looks pretty good. I mean, other than the fact that I have to use the entire laptop to center it. But in terms of quality, I think it's looking pretty good. All right, well, you can tell me what you think when we come back from this break. I'm going to give you some awesome jazz music. I'm thinking about, is it too early to do holiday music? Is it too early to find some Creative Commons, like, Christmassy music and throw that up there? And I'm going to have to put the fireplace back up as well. Because the display capture, it's getting to be that time of year again, where you've got really nice. It's getting cold out, and you get really nice and cozy. I probably shouldn't do this right in the middle of the show, but you know, I'm feeling a little bit a lacking of focus today. So why not? Why not just go ahead and just talk to you guys while I find my desktop OBS file and change it back to the fireplace look. You know, I try to do something a bit seasonal, and I just realized that the one now that we've got going is very summery, but I think it's time for the fireplace again. So let's see if is that gonna work? Yeah, that's gonna work. All right, guys. So put the fireplace back on. I'm gonna go make some coffee. We're gonna listen to some nice jazz music. Video capture. Am I doubled up on audio? Hopefully not. Well, quiet that down in case it was. Yeah, and come back with questions, comments, anything you want to say, and we will talk for a few more minutes. And then if you do want to see me, I'll be over on my D&D channel, where I've got so many things my friends my party members can do. They can talk to interview some people who have passed on. They can go look for a place to hide a dragon. They looking to keep the city safe. There's so much to do. There's so much for them to do. As well as other things that are coming up that they don't know about. So yeah, come back or write your question. Go get a cup of tea, cup of coffee, a beer, depending on what you're drinking, what time it is, and we'll be back in like 5 minutes. Okay, Nick? Yes, sir? Alrighty, I see lots of questions, comments in the chat. That's fantastic. Game I need to look at, or the window I need to use to stream the show, and I don't want to accidentally close that. So let me set this up. The good question already about how much damage Trump can do in 73 days. Alright. Low frame rate, but it does the job. I don't know. I'll check to see what you guys are talking. Alright. Ooh, someone's got me a link to a better one already. Yes. Yeah. I see Roscoe also. Roscoe Rose is, yeah, it was apparently Logitech. They've traumatized many of us. Okay, let me swap over to, oh, of course now I've got to change the video capture device other windows, because of course I've got the Logitech one. So I have to do some fancy dancy adding of video capture devices. Add an existing one. Okay. That'll work. I know what I'll do. I see. I'm gonna do a temporary solution. Sorry, we're doing this on the fly. We're doing it live! That works. And then alright. And then the last, sorry, I have to just up. Oh no, that won't work. Okay. Let me just resize the window a little bit. I will have to resize the window, otherwise you guys won't see yourselves. There we go. That looks better. Now we can talk to you. Now the last thing I have to do is, in order to make this work, is to make your text a little bit bigger. There you go. Boom. Oh, that might be a little too much. I think 150. I think 150. That seems. Let's see from there. Yeah, I'll sort this out. Otherwise, you get like the deep cut. Yeah, you can see across my exciting bedroom. You can a little tour there. You got my window blocking out the light. Very exciting. You got my handmade quilt. I made that by myself. That's just all me. I got a Christmas kind of light that matches the colors, but I never turn it on because I've got different lights. And then over here, you can see, yep, I've got this sort of like, there's a staircase. Maybe you can't see that white wall that goes up. I've got a staircase that divides my bedroom in half because it's still like the attic is above me. So I just hung some curtains there to kind of keep in the heat. And so I've got this sort of like little nest, this little cozy nest. And you get to see it better in this lighting than last. So I'm gonna open this up a bit. All right, what do you guys got to say here? Pendinus Rex, sorry you gotta get to work. Hope you catch us later. Hope you have a good day at work. Oh, I'm not centered now. Now I'm centered. Now I'm centered. That's a little bit better. Like I said, I'll figure this out later. We're not gonna go too long. There. Sleepy energy, low energy, so sad. Yeah, thanks, Rosso. Sorry. Favorite celebration song, anyone? Here Comes the Sun. Yeah, yeah, I was thinking like, you know, feels good, celebrate good times, all that stuff. Sybil, if you love Logitech, tell me what the secret is. Can't have me too tired for tonight's game. No, I need to be on as my DM skills. Send Donald to Mexico. I'd be up for that. We'll look up my Amazon order. Okay, thanks. Jules asks a really good question. What are the chances we'll see President Pence for a month or two? I don't know that Trump would give him a month as president. I would not, honestly. I would bet that he is absolutely going to resign the presidency shortly before having to deal with. Is that the right? Let me change the lighting a little bit here. Bring this up so that I'm a bit better lit. Yeah, I do think that he will resign in order to, one, not have to deal with the inauguration, and two, so that Mike Pence can pardon him. You know, there is no clear law on whether the president can pardon himself or herself. However, everyone who has a law degree that I have seen has basically said it's a very difficult case to make, because obviously there is a conflict of interest if the president were to pardon themselves. And so it would just be easier legally for Trump if he resigned, say 3 days before Joe Biden was sworn in, on a weekend, maybe. I don't know what time, I don't know when the 20th of January is next year. I guess we can look. And then just had him pardon him. But the thing is that even if he pardons Trump, which I do suspect he will, that doesn't stop him from prosecution in the state. Yeah, so like if Trump, so the 20th is a Wednesday, Trump could basically resign on the 15th, the Friday, and then Mike Pence over the weekend could organize pardons for him. Predict that will happen. That will happen. I have absolutely no hesitation in saying that at all. The moral of the story is bury a Logitech camera deep in your litter box. Yes, very much so. And we talked about Lonely Wolf's sense of relief. Thank you for the link there, Flint. I will have a look at that in my Amazon shopping box. I'll check that out. Oh, and that's the other thing that was really funny that... well, not really funny, but... you know, I'm an American because I'm an American resident abroad, I still qualify, I have to do tax stuff in the States. And I mostly ignored the relief thing, the relief package stimulus, because I was like, oh, I can't really be bothered with it. I don't really know if I qualify, yada, yada, yada. Got a letter from a member of my family saying, oi, you haven't claimed your COVID economic stimulus yet. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a go. I'll see what they do. So I went in and I put in the numbers. And then yesterday, I got a letter from Donald Trump saying that they'd sent me, what is it, $1,200 or whatever it is, which is great. Like, hey, who can't use money? But I just saw his sort of like, you know, complete narcissistic signature. I was like, too late to apologize. Too late. Oh. All right. He can do a lot by executive order. That's true, Herbie, but he's only got 70-some days left, and Joe Biden can reserve, you know, the thing about an executive order is that as soon as someone else is the new executive, boom, they can change it. And there are things that he just can't do by fiat. There's a limit. It's a low frame rate, but it does the job. My camera. Well, it's better than this POS. I'm gonna unplug that. Unplug it. I don't even want to look at it anymore. I find you frustrating. I find you annoying, Logitech. You're gonna get, I don't know, donated to somebody. I feel bad. I don't even want to donate this camera. It's so bad. You gave it away. It's going in a drawer. No, not you drawer. I look at you too often. Put it in a random drawer that I never even bother with. You are consigned, yeah, to go in with when I do my charger for my my renewable batteries, because you know all that stuff going into the environment is bad. So do get a rechargeable battery if you can. Gah! Logitech. Trumpsters outside my work. Po Mama Sid says, where the vote counting is, so when I ran out and see a crowd celebrating in sad Trumpsters. I will say I miss Trump's speeches, but it's good to have a qualified executive. I mean, yeah, if he wasn't running your country, I'm sure he was very entertaining. I mean, just look at him. The guy is a parody of a character on a TV thing, right? Way too early for Crimbo. Just say no to holiday music. I think, you know, technically once you clear, like you're getting on like Thanksgiving time in the States. If I were to do a WAP version of All I Want for Christmas, my Christmas music would be more like sort of seasonal, have a seasonal flavor to it. Whoa, it's a celebration. Dam Busters March. Bruce is on a soundtrack to Trump leaving office. That sounds good to me. Flint Reed, but Biden won, so Christmas is canceled. And Thanksgiving. Absolutely true. I was thinking, no, I mean, I haven't, in my place, I don't have an oven, I just have a microwave. I have a microwave that I can, like, heat things up in. So I've learned to adapt. I make a lot of pasta things, you know, I can make a lot of things on the hob. And but I was thinking that I've got a friend who has an oven, and I might want to just like, cause I might want to do like a proper Thanksgiving dinner, although like only for 2 people. But yeah, like actually do Thanksgiving this year, find someone with an oven and go take it over. Um, I can still have Rashford's success in my clipboard. I don't. What is this? I'll have a look. I don't know what this is. What are you sending me? Oh, oh. They actually gonna let starving children eat in the UK. An hour ago. Yeah, climb down over free meals and school holidays. Good. I mean, honestly, who's in favor of not hungry kids? Sorry, you guys. You're having a hard time seeing that because of the way that my screen is set up for it. I apologize, but basically, I'll pull this all the way over here. The government is to spend more than $4 million to support poor children and their families in England following a campaign by footballer Marcus Rashford. Well, good on him, and really, shame on the Tories. Shame on them. I think the one thing that everybody could agree with. I don't care, what your political leanings are, but the idea that in any developed country that kids should be going hungry is absolutely ridiculous. So let me boop. Look at that. Look at me go. Oh, wrong way. That's a little too narrow. Let me expand that up. There. That's better. Okay. So yes, hopefully they'll put school meals back on. Now. Now. Don't wait, do it now. What do we got here? The one place I miss growing up in a house is real fireplace. Yeah. They're very nice. They're really nice. Actually, what I miss, sorry, like I said, I have to move my entire laptop now if I want to adjust anything. I can't just move the that's not what I want to do. I can't just I'm making myself wider. That's absolutely not what I want to do. There we go. I'll make myself a bit more centered there. Whew. See, this is what I do when you guys aren't before I go live. But I miss having a really big bathtub. The bathtub I have, my water heater isn't big enough to like fill a bathtub. When I take a shower, I have to like turn it up really hot and then like suds up or like wait, if I turn the hot water on and off mid shower to give it time. I mean, it's terrible. It's like, I mean, it's a first world problem, but for me, I would trade having a fireplace for having just a really big bathtub. Not a big bathtub. I mean, I can sit in my bathtub, but I can't relax in my bathtub. I can take a shower. I should just have a walk-in shower. That would actually just be better. Anyway, that's pointless. All right, moving on. Never had a real fireplace. How much damage do I think Trump could do in the next 73 days? Limited. I mean, I think that probably the most damaging things that Trump will do in the next 73 days have to do with pardoning people who helped him commit crimes. And also, let me amend that, the destruction of evidence. I have no doubt that he will try to destroy any kind of evidence that would point to his wrongdoings or anything like that. And so I think in terms of Trump's damage, it would be to justice rather than to the American people. Because again, as president, there's only so much he can do with an executive order. And anything that he can do with an executive order, someone else can undo. So, excuse me, I have Yank Huger screaming against my chill. Yeah, the thing about yelling on YouTube is that it sells. Yelling, screaming, being angry, being loud it sells. It gets eyeballs and it's entertainment. But as like a because of misogyny, being a woman, I can't yell the way that Yank does, or other people who are not women, trans or cis, or non-binary, people who come present as feminine. There is a kind of I'd be called screeching, So even people like, oh, Anna or whatever, Anna K. But even she is a much more toned down, I think, than her comments or her colleagues. Hope Biden keeps his promise to reverse the damage done to the trans community. Yeah, I mean, he did shout out. I mean, I noticed I saw lots of people in the trans community noting that he mentioned them. And I know that I saw something that we covered it on the, I thought we covered it on the show, that Trump would never promise it, promised like an LGBTQ rights bill within the first 100 days. Now, that's a little complicated given the structure of the Senate. It would be easier if we got those 2 seats in Georgia to get that through, because we'll have Kamala Harris to cast tie votes, be a tie vote breaker. But it seems to be something that they are, it's incorporated into their worldview of inclusivity now. So, see the Tory graphs reporting on Kamala? No, let's have a look at that. I don't know if got their first write-up. Why Kamala Harris is the modern beauty icon the world needs. Oh God. I mean, le plus ça change, le plus c'est la même chose. The more things change, the more things stay the same. Yeah, somehow you can have a woman who is accomplished and intelligent and groundbreaking, and they're still going to be like, but what was she wearing? Whose shoes is she wearing? Yeah, that's, you never see it, it's so depressing. How high should our expectations be for a Biden presidency? I think, there are, okay, let's package expectations into 3 baskets. There's the expectation of what Biden can do unilaterally. Like that list that I just said. Remove the ban on travel from majority Muslim countries, re-enter the Paris Peace Accords, stop the process of separation, child separation. All of the things over which he has 100% control. Have high standards. Have absolutely high standards. Press him and push him. If he's got the power to fix a problem, to fix it. That is completely legitimate. Then there is the issue of things that he can help negotiate with Congress, but ultimately has no control over the language. Now, as president, he can't introduce any legislation. What he can do is tell, especially appropriations always have to start in the House. So he can signal or tell or request House leadership, or, he can present a budget saying, this is what I want to put in. Now, just because the president says it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Congress is its own thing, but there will be deference to the president's agenda and the president's priorities. It's a starting point. But, House people are going to have to negotiate with inside the caucus. And they don't necessarily need Republican votes. There might be some Republicans who want to get on board. The hard thing comes with negotiating with Mitch McConnell and the Republicans in the Senate. Now, the thing is, with Trump gone, maybe there is a chance that a Susan Collins and a Mitt Romney, again, don't count on these people. These people just let us down. But in theory, until 2022, when we have another election and some senators are going to be up, there might be some senators who will be willing to cross over. I mean, it would be pretty difficult. There's a lot of, Mitch McConnell has sort of a whip, but to work with the Democrats on a couple things. Don't count on it, though. If Republicans have taught us anything in this last term of Trump's presidency, is that they will let you down. So Democrats will have to compromise with Republicans to get things done, which are going to be less than optimal. And I don't think you can blame Biden for what Congress has to compromise in order to get through. And then the last thing are things that he has absolutely no control over. And, for me, when I see things on Twitter, I don't mind legit critique. But what does irritate me is when people get mad at things that are completely unreasonable. So they were saying 6 weeks ago, the Democrats in Congress should impeach Bill Barr. It's like 6 weeks before an election. Everyone is out campaigning. The impeachment process itself takes months. And by the time it actually got, like, you know, somewhat near completed, then we would be into February, March, April of next year. And we're like, why aren't the Democrats impeaching Barr? Like, because there's no time. Like, why are you mad at something that's, it's like being mad that you can't fly. Like, why am I not flying? Like, why are you mad? Of course you can't fly. So for me, I always kind of divide up what you can reasonably be mad at Biden about, what is, you know, not really his fault, and there's more blame to go around. And then there's things that you're just being silly. You're just, like, your anger is irrational, misplaced, and unjustified. Go sort yourself out. This isn't a Dem problem, this is a you problem. So, when it comes to expectations, that's how I would put them, what categories I'd put them into. I prefer a tiny bedroom. I've been hibernating. Yeah, you know what's, in a large room, you have to heat it, right? And one thing is, so Flynn just, you know, so moving over completely to a completely different topic. Yeah, I think the thing that's nice about having a small sleep area, and it's really not much larger than my bed. It's pretty much, this is the width of my bed, is the width of my bedroom. Is, yeah, I can kind of reduce my heating costs by having the curtain here and then keeping this room warm. And then when I leave it, like, I can feel the temperature drop by like a degree or two in Celsius. But it also means that I'm not having to heat the whole room just to keep this part heated. So yeah, it is like a little cave. It's a bit of a hibernation thing. Celebrating the streets must have triggered Trump, possibly. QAnon manifest into outright bombings. Hopefully not. That is more than, I actually more worried about what violence might happen than what Trump can do. 20th is Wednesday. Thank you. Presidential pardon is an implicit recognition of guilt. You know, I don't think Trump cares about the optics because he knows that people have the memory of gnats. Like, Trump knows, like, look, for all his intellectual failings, of which there are many, he knows the reason he gets away with so much is because people don't hold him to account because they forget. He will say for a year running, oh, in 2 weeks' time we're going to have a healthcare plan. Oh, I'm going to release my taxes next month. But he never has to, because by next month people are talking about something else. By next week, in 3 days, people are talking about something else. So if he got pardoned, nobody in his side would care. And in 2 weeks, nobody on our side would remember it. Because we just, like, it's always what's the latest thing that we're talking about right here? Got no long-term focus. So I don't think he cares about how it looks as long as he doesn't have to deal with the consequences of his actions. Some Republicans, Lonely Wolf says, and your average conservatives are condemning Trump for his neurotic antics. Yeah, and I think that now that, you know, Ding Dong the Witch is dead, or, you know, the king is dead, he has less pull, he has less weight, he's no longer the leader of the Republican Party. And people can start thinking beyond him and thinking past him. I'm getting a little cold now. I was just saying about how it warmed everything up. I took something out. I'm going to put on my little fuzzy thing. Kind of clean up here. Ooh. And so we might see a few, now that he's gone, you might see a few more people acting bravely. But, you know, Republicans are not known to be profiles in courage. So, yeah. Again, never count on a Republican to do the right thing. It's pretty much the lesson that we've all learned. Mary Trump says he's never had to face failure before. Yeah, and now on such a national scale. Yep, he's always been able to buy himself out of trouble. Yeah, that's right. So it's good. I think I think that there's a very good chance he's going to run away to Mar-a-Lago and just hide out and play golf and sulk and not do his job, which would be the ideal situation. Just like senioritis. Like, fly off to Florida and then just pout. Fine, go, bye. See ya. Bye, boy. Boy, bye, I should say. I don't have any problems with your C20. Yeah, so I have a C920. But here's the question, Sid Wolf. Like, what software do you use to get it to adjust the settings? That's the problem I'm having. Like when it goes fuzzy like that, there's nothing that I can do to like adjust the focus. I had to like download some kind of Logitech Game Center, blah blah blah. Can't be bothered. A drawer of electronic purgatory. We all have one of those. Yeah. Yeah, you know what else is in my drawer of electronic purgatory? I will tell you. There is a political science studies association like battery charger that doesn't work. It's one of those things where like you plug it in and then you're meant to like, you know, it's like a travel battery. But and I got 2 of those for some reason. What else do I have? Well, anyway, so yeah, we all have. Like, I can't throw it away because I have to like recycle it properly, and I can't be bothered to recycle. I've got some batteries in here, alkaline powered. Again, I have to properly recycle those, so they don't get just thrown in the trash because they're bad for the environment. But I can't be actually arsed to go and like put them in the proper disposal, so they just sit in a drawer somewhere. We won the war on Christmas. Thanksgiving turkey time. Melania had the war on Christmas. The UK Tories are Trumpster trash. Not going to argue that. Footballers are the moral high ground than Tories. No surprise. My friend's Nan, for some reason, is against school meals because of boomer reasons. What? Boo. Boo. You can't shame the Tories. They have no shame. Yeah, that's, again, good point. How are we celebrating today with coffee? There are 3 confirmed runoff races. Oh, one for the House. Yeah, but the House won't flip. So Georgia is a hard sell. Georgia, to flip 2 Senate seats in Georgia, I would put it at less than 20%, if I'm honest. The thing that I would guess, here's the thing that I think happened. I mean, naturally, Georgia is not a Democratic area. This is the first time that it's gone for the I don't even need my headphones on. I don't know even where I'm wearing these anymore. But the reason why we were able to get it to flip for the first time since Bill Clinton did in either 92 or 96. Can't remember which year. But it was Stacey Abrams. I mean, her effort to get people out to vote was what ended up making the difference. But people voting for a president is different from people voting for something farther down the ticket. So there is this weird inverse relationship. Look, when you turn out to vote in your local town election or your city council election, your vote has a lot more power because way fewer people vote for those offices. So in terms of the effect, you're much more likely to have an impact on that race. I mean, in other words, if there are 15,000 people who are going to vote and you're one of them, your vote is more important than if it's one of 300 or 150 million, or even within your state of like 3 million or 6 million. And yet, more people feel more motivated to vote for president, even though their vote has less of an effect than they do for their local races. So we're going to see possibly the vote percentage of the population go down. And the question is going to be, I think, one, COVID's going to be raging for the next couple weeks. What effect is that going to have on people's self-quarantining and using early ballots again? 2 is, if Trump is having a big temper tantrum, like, is he really going to help the Republicans keep the Senate? Can they count on him to show up and do work for someone who's not himself? And what about, those people who only turned out because Trump was on the ticket? Will they turn out again? Now, again, I think that Georgia is an uphill climb, but we shall see. I'm not feeling confident about it. But, if you have another bite at the apple, take it. Why not? Don't throw in the towel. Work. Just to quote Hamilton. COVID reducing the family gatherings. Yep. Champagne later. Woohoo! Into the bath. Yeah. Drama sells. Yeah. Nothing surprises you. The Tories. Yeah, they're terrible. I think Trump will ransack the White House. Well, I mean, I think he'll just rage quit and head back to Mar-a-Lago. Landscaping press conference. Yeah, Law and Order. Someone made that joke too on Twitter. Really good, because Trump and his Law and Order, and then landscaping, Law and Order. Thank you, Flint, for mentioning that in the chat. Can Kamala Harris do a tiebreaker in the Senate like Pence did? Absolutely. So if we got 50-50 in the Senate. Whenever there was a need for a tie break, she would just be on hand to cast it. Yeah, absolutely. That's how it works. Vice president is a tiebreaker. That's what Trump should be in control over lawns. Yeah, can't even handle golf courses. Question. So the 2 Senate runoff and state legislature. Like too fast. I went too fast. I didn't read my last comment. I'm doing what I can, peeps. They even appointed Virginia Bottomley to a cabinet position. I don't know. Oh, her name is an anagram of I'm an evil Tory bigot. You're right, I didn't see that. I'm trying to get to everybody's, so apologies. Sorry, let me scroll down again. Senate break in the state legislature as hard as we can to make handiwork. Sorry, Bruce. I know with the struggles, it's a little bit. I'm trying to interpret here, but yeah. In so far as the tea breaks over, heads down, Georgia runoff. Yeah, I mean, you always have to. If a race is put in front of you, you should make a chance. If nothing else, just because you don't win this time, you are setting yourself up for another race. Look at Joe Biden. The man ran for president 3 times. You know? And I know there were a lot of people who were like, oh, Mayor Pete, or even myself, was like, I was supporting Kamala back in this time last year. Or a little bit later. Yeah, I guess it would have been this time last year. Wow. But just because you don't win the first time doesn't mean you don't run again. And you learn things from your races. So yeah, definitely get down there. Someone send this to Pim Tool so he can face value what's happening. Right. Ask Carl into the happy hour. Honestly, I don't think he'll come back on. And here's the other thing about having Carl on. I'll tell you about it. Socialist revolutionary Biden begins slaughter of billionaires. Here's why I find it increasingly pointless to talk to Carl. As soon as he doesn't have a point to say, or like a point to make, which happens within the first 30 seconds. If it's me and Kevin talking to Carl, he'll immediately just start mocking me for not having kids. And he'll just insult me in very personal ways that have nothing to do with the topic. So, we'll move on to another topic and he'll say something and I'll refute it and then he'll just accuse me. I mean, there's no point. He's got nothing intellectual to bring to a conversation. He lives in a little fascist, white supremacist, toxic masculinity bubble where he doesn't understand things. He doesn't have the facts to hand. He doesn't keep up with the news. And when that is exposed, he just becomes a petty little troll. Because ultimately, he's like rot. He's got, you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. That's Carl inside. He doesn't have any solutions. He doesn't have, he thrives on belittling and dehumanizing other people. And because he is a sexist POS, he won't do those things to Kevin, but he'll do them to me. So, when we looked at the time that we had Carl on, Kevin was way meaner to him. Kevin was doing all kinds of, your wife is committing adultery and all this sort of stuff. But later on, he said that I was the person who. So having Carl on is just gives him an opportunity to say horrible things about me that aren't true, and there's nothing intellectually of value of giving him an opportunity to just be terrible to me to my face. So that's why I don't really see any point in having him on. He's literally intellectually vacuous, and all he's going to do is be a terrible human being, because ultimately that's what he is. He's a terrible human being. And if all you can do is take pride in getting someone else pregnant, it means you haven't actually accomplished anything in your life. And Carl hasn't. He hasn't. So that's my take on that. Maybe Trump can film OnlyFans, yeah, and start a new career. It's like we're in hell. Lads, tea breaks overhead. Oh, we read that one. Should IRL progressives like Castro Boys distance themselves from online progressives? I think what what the terminally online, to quote Peter Coffin, what they had to say. Nancy Pelosi was right in 2018 that online life is not real life. And for all of the yelling and shouting and bullying and everything else that happens on Twitter, most, like the vast majority of people just live in the real world. They don't care about what happens on Twitter. I think like 6% of Americans aren't. And so even though in our little echo chambers we feel like we're really important, we're not. We just aren't. Like, the Vosh does not determine the outcome of elections. AOC, doesn't determine the outcome of elections except in her own district. I mean, if you want to compare, I know people were like, congratulating her for going on a Twitch stream and what Elon was doing in Minnesota, but what Stacey Abrams did with real people in real communities, real neighborhoods, at real meetings, talking to people in real life. She flipped an entire state blue. I mean, not alone, but she was the person who was leading that movement. And you know what she doesn't do? She doesn't spend all day on Twitter. She isn't spending her time like I do on YouTube. Like, what I do is I already gave $100 to Ossoff and I gave $100 to Reverend Warnock. Right? I can't do IRL organizing. So, I give money and I vote. That's my displacement activity. Right. But Vosh's impact is nothing compared to what Stacey Abrams does. AOC's got her blue district, and she can maybe go to a place like Madison, Wisconsin. She can go to a place like Austin, but she's not going to move people in Georgia. If anything, she might move people in the wrong direction, from our perspective. Right? So I think when it comes down to, just let people yell. And if you think they're yelling too much, criticize them, because again, it's just noise. Twitter is just noise. And I know that they think they have this outsized impact, but that's because they're in a bubble of a demographic that is the least likely to vote, which is people under the age of 24. So, there's a lot of navel gazing that happens on YouTube. And there's a lot of navel gazing that happens inside progressive YouTube. But nobody on progressive YouTube is shifting elections at the margins the way Stacey Abrams. So just kind of keep a sense of perspective. At least I try to too. Sometimes I lose it, but and again, I don't know that people like Katie Porter need to have a statement about online progressives. Given that runoffs normally have lower participation, doesn't it give Democrats greater odds? Well, of course, lower participation applies to Democrats as well. Now, I think that is what is interesting in this race is you have a white guy and you have a black guy. Right? And so you can kind of like, if you're going to vote for one, you're going to vote, if you were going to vote for the one Dem, you're going to vote for the other. And so maybe there's a whole, like, again, suburban, rural, white, black, Hispanic, young people, progressive people that can come together. But again, there are people who just turned out for a presidential election. You can't count on them for an off-year race or a runoff race. I'm not even going to read that. I'm not even going to read that Lonely Wolf about Trump's face. We get another disaster with redistricting and gerrymandering. I agree. I think that, unfortunately 2020 was a chance to redraw some lines that we're not going to get. However, here's the way I'm going to look at it as a silver lining, Bruce. It's that you can't gerrymander statewide races. So what we're seeing is this trend toward senators, governors, statewide election races being much more competitive for the Democrats than legislatures. And that's because at the end of the day, a state race is a popular vote race. And even if you have gerrymandered districts that give you a legislature that leans Republican, you do have that opportunity to vote statewide for a Democrat. But yeah, gerrymandering and redistricting, it looks like, Texas is going to get another 3 seats in Congress probably after the next census. And as a consequence, Republicans are going to have a possibility to, cheat their way to another 3 seats. It's very worrying. And now we have a Supreme Court that is going to have a political motivation to say that somehow if Democrats are disenfranchised because of deliberate political redistricting that gives them no chance of ever getting representation, somehow that's not a violation of their rights. So yeah, I mean, Biden is a good start, but there's been a lot of damage done, and we have a lot of Jim Crow-like laws to undo. So yeah. Needs to stay noticed in the next few years. Well said, Christy. Never give up, never surrender. Yes, yes. Galaxy Quest. Never give up, never surrender. Been watching that in German to practice my German lately. Edwina Curry, my mistake. Carl is Mr. Cognitive Dissonance. Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. He's a total troll. Men talking each other is considered good or bashing men. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you look at Carl's channel, all it is tearing people down. Like, what have you ever learned? He doesn't even know what, like, critical race theory is. He doesn't understand the things that he talks about. He just does stream of consciousness for money. For people who don't have the intellectual, like, they don't have the education or the critical thinking skill set to unpack that. Yeah, and Twitter is BS. I mean, I try. So, I mean, I'm thinking about what to do in coming up. I still have to finish that book. I know, Lonely Wolf, you're out there. You were with me on the social construction of reality. Finding the energy for it in the ending of the election season's been a little bit difficult. That's been pulling me one direction. Also, yeah, One Direction, the band. The other thing is that D&D is like my escapism. And so I'm like, oh, I can do really hard stuff or I can play. And I've kind of just been like immersing myself. I'm hoping now that with the psychological burden of Trump and Trumpism fading, that'll open up some space for me intellectually and emotionally to put myself, to do some hard work again. I've got this Toonly program that I've been playing around with. I'm not entirely comfortable, or not comfortable, but sure how I'm going to use it. But yeah. I don't even know where I got that started. Georgia took everyone by surprise. No one expected the state to flip. We saw some polling that showed that Georgia was a possibility. People in Georgia, Dems in Georgia, have been screaming at the DNC for ages that Georgia could flip. In North Carolina too. I mean, in this case, I think it's going to go to Trump again, but Obama did win it. So there is a new South on the rise. And I think people in some ways are, we're so focused on Florida, like that being that Democratic fool's gold. But yeah, Georgia, the professional pollsters I was looking at, Mike Murphy, David Axelrod, Nate Cohen, all those, the people who were looking at it, I thought Georgia was a possibility. And I actually knew some people who said Georgia is more likely than Florida. So there is a new South coming. I like AOC reached out to gamers with something and stupid hashtags. Yeah, I don't like the thing is it's fine. Here's okay. Let me I love Kevin. Kevin, I love you. I think this is also the problem Kevin has. And there's a problem that Bernie has as well. And that is that progressives somehow think. I think there's an overemphasis on the youth vote. The farther left you go. And I was when I was a young person, I was very much, I knew that that our demographic didn't vote, and I worked very hard. I did stuff on my campus to get a voting thing going. We had a thing I organized that the student cafeteria, if you had a sticker that said I voted, you get like a free soda or something to try to encourage, because you can't give people a reward for voting, but you could give them a reward for having an I voted sticker. Right, and the premise is you get the I voted stickers, but you go vote. So it's like sort of like there's a step in between, because anyone could just like make an I voted sticker and get it. So it's not an inducement to vote. It's not a bribe. And I get, all right. There's a lot of problems with being over focused on the youth vote. It's nice and it's noble and it's cool, whatever. But one, they are the least likely to turn out. It is just harder to get younger people to vote. Second, they don't have a history of voting, which means you have to register them to vote. Right? So you have to like get to them, motivate them, get them to register to vote, and then get them to turn out to vote. Right? And the other thing is that yeah, from a campaign's point of view, you only have so much time and money. You only have so many days to the election, and you only have so much money to get your message across. So from a pragmatic point of view, you're better off looking at people who are regular voters, consistent voters, people who have turned out in the past and people who are already registered to vote, and talking to those people, than to turn your attention to investing in getting people who have never voted before interested in voting, and then interested in voting for you, and then registered to vote, and then actually out to vote. Each of those things is a separate step. And Bernie was great at rallies, but you know what he wasn't great at? Registering people to vote. He had 4 years to organize some sort of national registration drive, knowing that he was going for people who hadn't turned out in other elections and people who were voting for the first time. And he didn't do it because it's hard work. It's just hard work. Now, I'm not saying we should ignore the under 25 vote. What I'm saying is that it makes far more sense from a rational choice perspective to get people who vote and then top up with the youth vote. If you make young people your base, you're not going to do very well. Now, AOC doesn't have to worry about that because she's like the Mark Pocan of New York, right? Mark Pocan in Wisconsin represents Madison, Dane County in particular. It is the most liberal place in Madison, in the entire state of Wisconsin, right? I mean, if someone more left ran against Mark Pocan, they would probably win because it is the most left place in the state. But you take Mark Pocan, you put him in Green Bay, or you put him in Superior, or you put him in Eau Claire, he's going to lose. Because you're not going to have the University of Wisconsin at Madison, 40,000 people there as a youth vote, right? So, yeah, it's great to get people in the habit of voting. But if that is who you are counting on to push you over the finish line, you need to diversify your voting base. So, you know, it's just, for me, I think that what Stacey Abrams did is way more impressive than AOC going on a Twitch stream. Or, you know, like getting people who are college educated or in college. The other thing that people who are likely to vote are college educated people. It's really hard to get people, it's harder to get people who haven't voted for the first time and don't have a college education to vote. There are whole kinds of factors that go into predicting who votes. So you go to a university town where there are a bunch of young people there and it's easy to collect them together and register. That's great. You go out in the middle of the rural areas where young people aren't in college. They're like at a technical school part-time at night, or they're working full-time and they live in a whole bunch of rural cities. That's way harder to organize that age group. So again, every vote counts and we should be working on it. But, you know, I think when we weigh it up, you know, you've got to make sure. I mean, from my perspective, what Stacey Abrams did was way more impressive. And we need it all. But, like, I think there's a lot of media darling stuff that kind of goes on with the squad that has more to do with what they believe and think than what they've been able to accomplish. And, yeah, like getting elected as a progressive in a super progressive area, it's kind of like getting, you know, Steve King elected on the other side in a really regressive right-wing area. It ain't no thing. You know, so get me purple states. Swing me a Trump district. Do something that flips the power of a state house or a U.S. Senate seat or something like that. Because that's what we need. I mean, that's where it's around the margins that those games are played. It's not a bad thing, right? But it's not going to win you elections. People expected Texas or Florida to turn blue or ignorant, naive. No, I don't think so. I think, you know, Texas and Florida are a matter of time and destiny. Now, the panhandle of Florida is going to be the panhandle. And I actually think Texas might be a better target going forward. But there are just, like, white people are dying off at a higher, faster rate than people of color, younger people of color are coming into the voting population. The question isn't so much like Texas or Florida as states, it's what is the Democratic message? And I think now that we've seen, I think in this election, we had Latinx voters being the second largest group of voters and African Americans now going into third. Democrats have kind of failed to grasp the nuance of people, you know, Puerto Rican Americans and Mexican Americans and people from Cuban Americans. each of these demographics need their own message, just like a rural white person needs a different message from an urban white person or a suburban white person. And we need that kind of understanding of the gradients and tones and variegated nature of different people. Because in the past, African Americans have been a bit more homogenous. Because they have mostly that, sort of like coming through the ancestry of slavery and oppression, it's been more consistently applied, whereas the experience of Cuban Americans and their traditions are very different from Puerto Rican Americans or Mexican Americans who, grew up in Texas. So I don't think that Texas or Florida, aiming for them, are ignorant or naive. I actually think that within the next 2 cycles, Texas could go blue. So 2024 or 2020. I don't know if I'll be alive to see it, but it's only a matter of time. They're called the nasty party for the reason you guys are talking about. Carl is a troll. Don't feed the troll. I mean, yeah, he got busted off of Twitter. Maybe somebody reported him, and he got busted off of Twitter. That might have happened. I'm just saying. You guys are talking all this smart stuff. I'm giggling over your snack husband. Dems are able to prevent Republicans from having a majority of the Senate, Supreme Court packing. Well, I don't think it's called, I think what Republicans have been doing is packing the court. I think what Biden needs to do is rebalance the court. And honestly, the whole, if it was 50-50, they're not going to get anything. I think what we'd have to do is look at it again after the 2022 races. I know that I will start funding the person running against Ron Johnson in Wisconsin immediately. So. And invite Carl to our book club and the social construction of reality. Yeah. I wish I could do D&D or Cyberpunk to escape. Oh, well, maybe you could join a game. There, Keijo. Maybe contact me and if you want to join in as an NPC for a game sometime. Do a temporary thing. We'll see how it goes. Right. I think I'm going to get going here. I'm getting a bit tired, sleepy tired. Scrolling. Batteries, World to Win. Main thing I learned in this election style, how hard America makes to vote compared to here in the UK. Oh my gosh, yeah. Okay, so when I watched UK elections, one, as I said to Kevin, it blows my mind that you guys vote in pencil. How much trust do you need that no effery is going to happen? That you would vote in something that you could erase. And 2, yeah, you do it on little sheets of paper. We've got like these ballots and scanners and machines, and you feed it all through, right? And then you just put little pieces of paper in piles, and it's so much easier. Absolutely easier. Do you think Bernie lost his Florida? No. I mean, I don't think one person can lose a state. I mean, so no. I think the reason that the Democrats lost Florida is, one, Florida is always a close state, just like Wisconsin. I mean, we got kind of complacent with Obama because Obama did really, really well in terms of motivating people to turn out and also winning over, inspiring and winning over a lot of rural whites in the state of Wisconsin. But at the end of the day, people are voting for the candidates who are in front of them. So there are always going to be segments of the population that are going to dislike Democrats and find any excuse to justify not voting for them. So if you are inherently against the Democratic Party, you're going to say, yeah, they're a bunch of socialists. Like, you could ask me why I'm not voting for Republicans and would never vote for Republicans, and I can give you 10 different answers, and they'd all be true. Because I will never vote for a Republican. Ever. And I wouldn't date a Republican. I could see myself dating lots of people, but not a Republican. Like, I just couldn't. I don't even know. No. I am prejudiced against Republicans. I won't go there. I won't do it. But if you have a candidate that you like and and is, oh yeah, Bernie is so and so and so and so, but John Ossoff, that the Reverend Warnock, I know him, and he's a good guy. It can go a long way to making a difference. So that's also it. And I understand there are some members of Congress on the Democratic side who are quite frustrated that they're getting smeared with the defund the police rhetoric in districts where that does not play, in rural areas and suburban areas where that sounds very scary. On the other hand, Republicans have always lied about what Democrats will do, whether it's tax and spend or Red Scare, wherever else. So, you know, kind of like once an election happens, if you won, everyone who said, everyone will try to claim the victory. And if you lose, no one will accept responsibility. So, you know, I'm seeing on Twitter right now that David Hogg is like, it was the youth what done it. Not really, because that's a British phrase. But basically, it was a youth vote that put us over the top. And I've got, you know, people from Black Twitter, like, it was Black people who put us over the top. And I've got Hispanic people, it was Hispanic people who put us over the top. And, like, suburban white, like, yes, everyone did. This is it. When you're in a coalition, and everyone adds their little piece to the pie, and the Democratic Party is a coalition of white people and Black people, Hispanic people, and gay people, and, you know, and Asian people, and East Asian people, and atheists, and liberal Christians, and, you know, like, it's a coalition of a whole bunch of different people. And you take any one part away, and it might have changed the outcome. So we all get to claim credit, but no one group did it by itself. You know, the white suburban women who didn't vote for Trump helped, but did they do it all on their own? No. Because if people in the urban areas and if Black voters hadn't turned out, then it wouldn't have mattered what they did because the other piece of the pie would have been gone. So, you know, everyone wants to claim responsibility for a victory and no one wants to own a defeat. And that's just how it goes in politics. And the other thing, too, is that people say a lot of things, and I am guilty of this myself, in, you know, the 2 weeks after a result. And then the temperature cools and we reflect a little bit and we get calm and we move on. So also give people time to vent. We need that, but also realize that people venting are not who they're necessarily going to. So, I mean, to turn blue 2020, Texas might turn blue later on, but not in 2020. No, it's already 2020, but there might be 2024 or 2028, I said. Too much voter suppression happens there. Well, again, we've just seen the change with how many people turned out to vote and the changes to the coronavirus rules. So I don't know that those would be, I mean, are those temporary? Or, because I think people are going to start expecting that kind of, I know that they've went from spending $4 million a year in Harris County in Texas on voting stuff to like $31 million and 24-hour voting opportunities, you know, to drop off your ballot. So I think people are going to expect that going forward. And there's going to be a lot of pressure in Pennsylvania and Nevada and these other states that have taken so long to not be the national embarrassment again. Hopefully they'll start doing their mail-in counts much earlier. And if more people, like the first time you vote by mail and you realize how easy it is, that increases your likelihood to do it again. Again, it's like the first time is always the most difficult. Yeah, we have a 2.5 year campaign. Can't believe 70+ million people voted for Trump. Yeah, there's a lot of right-wing people in America. This is why I keep saying, like, we're not a center-left, you know, like, we're a centrist country. And some of these really far progressive ideas that work in urban areas, that sell in a certain kind of demographically constituent, you know, like made-up districts work great. But we've got 70 million people there to counter it. So we're working with the margins. We know we've got a whole bunch of people who are much farther right. And if the left goes too far to the left, the tendency is the confused mind says no. If you come with an anti-capitalist agenda, they're going to be like, I don't know what that's going to be like. Capitalism sucks, but at least, you know, I'm making money now and I know how it works and I can plan for my future. So this is why, I mean, even though I am far more left politically than I am in terms of what I advocate is electable in America, yeah, you can't just ignore those 70 million people because they will turn out. And if you give them fodder, you're going to justify or even activate them to turn out. So we need to find a message that is non-threatening. You know, the Republicans do it by wrapping themselves up in the flag. And the left needs to find a way to be non-threatening to those moderate and centrist. You know, the people who voted for Biden, who normally vote for Republicans, they are going to go vote Republican again, most likely. So can we get them on this, like, are there a couple of those people that we can still pull off? Are there some independents that we can bring over? It's a very divided country, America. It's not an easy road ahead. And that's how the founders designed it, was to force us to constantly try to compromise. And if we can't compromise, I guess we're at a stalemate. U.S. tester stood at a Pokemon. Kevin, hello. Print ballots with blank spaces are ours with no. Okay. Voted Republican for mayor one time. Bernie can still win. Kev. I wouldn't even date you. Pie Coalition. Pie. All right, we're getting to the end of it now. All right, peeps. This is way longer than I planning on going. It's a half hour longer. Do you have any suggestions on how to make our arguments? Yeah, actually. Yeah, I do. So how do left people make arguments? In order to pull people in. You know what the Republican Party doesn't do? The Republican Party doesn't go to their voters and say, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get into power. And then we're going to give a bunch of big tax breaks to corporations. And we're going to create loopholes for people who can afford accountants. And we're going to throw you a little bone of maybe $100 or $200 in a tax credit, or deregulate something in your industry that will increase the profit margin for your bosses. And then we're going to use it to raise money off of our rich donors. No. What do they say? They talk about liberals are going to take away your guns. They will say abortion murders babies. Vote for us because you're moral and good as a person, right? They talk about, the government's just a burden. We're the government. We're for small government, except when it comes to locking kids up. So they aren't talking about their real agenda. You see what I'm saying here? They don't tell people what they're gonna do. They tell people what they want to hear. Right? They play off their fears. They play off their emotions. They play off their sense of righteousness. Now, I'm not saying we should do that. All right? But what I'm saying is, when you go to a voter, don't lead with what you want. Lead with what they want. Right? I think that we forget that people emote first and rationalize later. So the first thing is, why would someone feel good voting for a Democrat if they're not a progressive? What values do we offer them to identify with when we put out our platform? It doesn't have to be the values we hold, right? Because that's not, Republicans don't do that. So I think that we should look at ways of linking our values to the sense of who we are as Americans. People generally want to think of themselves as good people. So, the right frames us oftentimes as saying they hate America because they think America is bad. And I think we need a better counter to that message that talks about we need to fulfill the American dream for everyone. We need that, we want Americans to be hopeful. We want to be the land of opportunity, by removing barriers to those opportunities. We want to fulfill the American dream. We came not to abolish the American dream, but to fulfill it. That's a Jesus quote. I think we need to talk about fulfilling the American dream. So emotionally, I think we need to speak in framing our values in a way that people find aspirational. And then when it comes to our policy solutions, talk to people about their pocketbooks. I know that it makes a lot of sense for us to talk about kids in cages, but you can't look at an Hispanic person and go, oh, you're Hispanic. If I talk to you about immigrant children in cages, you're going to vote for me. Any more than you would for a white person, because that is a sort of like reductive identity politics that you're not seeing the person, you're seeing their identity. And the fact is, we need to be able to talk to people about your 401k and the stock market and your retirement plan. And, how are you dealing with your property taxes? When was the last time you had a raise? Right? What about your healthcare costs? Here is how Medicare for All will actually reduce your private insurance. Having a public option for Medicare for All means that there's not going to be as many emergency visits from people without insurance. So it's going to reduce the cost of healthcare for everyone. Stop appealing to people's moral, like they're better angels, and start appealing to their pocketbooks. And, talking about big banks and breaking up big tech, these are abstract. People care about what is happening with my pension plan. What about the fact that my union's pension plan is going to run out? How are we going to fund Social Security? Is there even going to be Social Security for me at some point in time? So I think part of the problem is, one of the things I disliked about Bernie's rhetoric is because it was very divisive. He had an enemy, in a lot of the same ways Trump has an enemy. And I get from the far left perspective, capitalism is the enemy and we need to destroy this drug, blah, blah, blah. But you also should recognize most people just want a gentler form of capitalism. They want a capitalism they can live with, a $15 minimum wage, guaranteed health care for all. And so you have to meet people where they are. So I think when it comes to the left moving forward in a centrist to center-right country like America, we need to find a way to make our values, communicate them in a way that is more patriotic. We have to speak more directly to people's personal economic interests and less to their moral characters. Not saying that we shouldn't speak to their moral characters, but we shouldn't give them a moral argument and expect them to think that that's enough. And I think that we should be able to talk to more, do more challenging of the Christian cornering of righteousness. I'm not saying that I think Democrats should be more religious or speak more to religiosity, but I think that there is a big segment of the country who gets their political news from the pulpit. And if we don't break that cycle somehow, they're just going to, those young people who are growing up now, they're not going to become more left. They're just going to replicate their parents' worldviews and become more center-right. So, let's see. Pie Coalition, Wayne County really helped Biden in Wisconsin. Cool. How far will the Democratic split in factions? Now they've achieved, Pelosi's always had to herd cats. That's why she's still the speaker, because she knows how to do that. I am not too worried about Nancy Pelosi, to be honest. There's always the moaning of the people who didn't get exactly what they want, but I actually think in some ways, when you have a big majority, everyone wants to be I think there's going to be some reasons to come together. And also, we're Democrats, so expect us to fight at the end of the day. We're not groupthink Republicans who are all going to go lockstep and we're going to fight each other all the way down. All right. I need to stop treating individuals as rational actors. People are selfish, not in a bad way, but they want to look at themselves and their family first. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, they care about putting food on the table, keeping a roof over their heads, their kids' college funds or retirement funds for themselves, or they've got a wedding to come, they care more about their pocketbooks than anything else. And that is why, the story I remember from someone in NBC is, an elderly Hispanic man who voted for Trump because his 401k did well and the stock market was going up. I also remember vividly an interview, I think it was when, I don't know when it was, I want to say it was the New York Times. I actually tried to look this up, but they were interviewing some farmer in Georgia. And the comment he made was, I would vote for an N-word if he would, organize the price of soybeans or help me out with my, economic pocketbook will trump racism. If people's self-interest, white supremacists use people of color all the time to get their agenda advanced, right? So that is kind of the same logic transfers. Like, and like, well, you know, he might be a whatever racial slur you want to put in there, but my 401k has gone up. Or, you know, like, I work for a government thing and, you know, we just got a big bonus. So, yeah. Bernie was able to get Hispanic, Vietnamese, metal. He got the younger people's vote. He didn't get older people's vote. He got the youth vote in those demographics, but he didn't get them overall. I think he got like one group maybe more diverse than the Hispanic in Nevada, but he didn't get the Hispanic community. If you look at it, his people of color voters were all from the youth demographic. So the age group explains more of the variance than their ethnic background. Because if you look at how other people voted, Biden got the older voters. Bernie had a message to young people, and young people are a more diverse population, but that doesn't mean Bernie had a message to a diverse group of people. And he has to learn this. You know, he had 4 years to network in the Black community, and he didn't. Go look at his turnout in Mississippi, in Missouri, in Kentucky, in West Virginia, in areas of the South where the Democratic Party is pretty much African American. He did terribly. So you can't look at his youth vote, which is a more diverse population, and say he's got a message for people of color. You have to look at the entire age spectrum. And in that case, he doesn't. He just doesn't. So, you know, it might be hard to hear, but if you want him to win, then you need to figure out where he didn't do well. And telling yourself he did well in a population in which he didn't is how he ended up not doing well in 2020. So yeah, go look at the exit polls by state and look at where Biden performed well and look at where Bernie performed well. And everywhere Biden performed better than Bernie, those are the people that he has to figure out a message for. And that message isn't going to be demonizing the big banks and demonizing, billionaires and stuff. I mean, yeah, you can complain and vent, but, you know, yelling at Bill Gates and yelling at Amazon guy, Jeff Bezos, isn't a solution. It doesn't tell people how you're going to fund Social Security so, you know, they can count on it in 10 years. And so that would be my lesson to the progressive side is it's not enough to just demonize people who have a lot of money. One, Americans who aren't progressive don't generally, they aspire to be those people. When you demonize people with a lot of wealth, there is a whole segment of people who want to be that person. So they're not turned on, you know, they're not going to listen to that message. And you have to, and those are the people you need to figure out how to reach. People who already agree with you, you got. It's how do you get the people who don't agree with you? What do they need to hear? That's the question. Bernie not getting older voters is not a surprise, though. But he had 4 years to figure out a message to get those older voters. He did better in 2016 with that group than he did in 2020. So what changed other than that there was not a woman at the top of the ticket? I mean, if Bernie did well with older rural voters in 2016, but then they all went to Biden in 2020, was it Bernie's message or was it misogyny or just an anti-Hillary thing? And you can't count on on people hating your opponent to get them out. You need a message for them. So that is where I think when you have an AOC and you have the upcoming people, they know how to speak to a young urban voting population because that is their base. But people in the suburbs, what are you going to offer those? You know, those white women and the other women in the suburbs who are looking at like one eye on their 401k and then one, eye on, issues that of concern to them. What message do you have for them? Rural farmers or people who live in rural areas, what is your message for them? It can't be the same message you have for the city. It's not going to work. So, I think the left is got to get out of its own bubble, because the rest of America doesn't look like Madison, Wisconsin, or Brooklyn, or the most liberal part of Minnesota. And Republicans get that because they're much more homogenous, so they have an advantage in that the people that we are trying to attract, they already look like and sound like, and they have a connection with the kind of language that moves them. So, I would say for the left to win, we need to start thinking about how to talk to people who aren't us. And to talk to people who aren't us, not in our language, but in their language. So, all right, I'm going to wrap it up now. That's my preaching for the day. I done my bit. I done did my bit. Thank you to Kevin for stopping by. Always good to see you, mate. I appreciate you coming by. Oh, wow, this is a really nice, I'm going to look at this. This is cheaper. This is cheaper than what I paid for. I could get this by Wednesday. I could even get it by Tuesday. So who knows, maybe this time next week, I'll have a new camera. Ooh. Well, thanks for the tip. I'll go check this out. All right, everyone. Thank you again. Well, how come I had the live chat? Why didn't I have the live chat up? Anyway. Yeah, Pelosi has managed historic wins, and people don't appreciate her as much as they will when she's gone, I think. I think they'll appreciate her a lot more when she's no longer running things. You guys, stay well, stay safe, stay healthy, stay COVID-free, stay happy. If you want some escapism, you can join me over on my D&D with Christy channel. We are doing a mashup of Dragon Heist, Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and Acquisitions Incorporated. Having a lot of fun with that, and a really good party. There's some adventuring coming up. We just had a big fireball explosion mystery happening in Troll Skull Alley. Our adventurers are off now to see if they can figure out what exactly happened. So you can join me over on that D&D with Christy. You can search for that channel. And otherwise, wow. Welcome to our first post-Trump episode of Weekend Winters. I look forward to the next and many, many more. So yes, until next time, y'all, I've been Christy. You have been awesome. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Good day, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is, whenever it is you are. And until next time, I'll move my screen over here. We will see each other again very soon. Bye.